Hello and welcome to this quiet space of reflection. Take a slow breath with me for a moment. Inhale deeply. Feel the air fill your lungs and exhale. Let go of whatever is heavy on your mind right now. If you're here right now, perhaps you've noticed the same thing I have over the years. Whenever Chinese media talks about the West, America, Europe, Australia, Canada, the tone is almost always positive, or at least neutral to positive. Western technology is cutting edge. Western universities are world-class. Western cities are clean and orderly. Western lifestyles look comfortable and free. Even when there are criticisms, they tend to be mild or framed as lessons we can learn from. I felt this contrast myself for a long time. On one hand, inside China, we hear plenty of critical voices about inequality, competition, pressure, pollution, censorship, housing prices, or 996 work culture. All kinds of real struggles are openly discussed online and in private conversations. But when the same media turns its lens outward to the West, suddenly everything feels softer, brighter, more admiring. Why is that? This is not me trying to prove a point or take sides. This is just something I've observed and felt for many years, and I want to think about it together with you, quietly, honestly. First, let me share a personal feeling. When I was younger, I remember watching Western movies, listening to Western music, seeing photos of European streets, American suburbs, Australian beaches, and part of me thought, that looks like a better life. More space, more choice, less pressure, cleaner air, more relaxed weekends. I wasn't angry at China. I just felt a quiet longing. And I think many people around me felt the same. At the same time, when I read Western news about China, I often felt uncomfortable. The tone was frequently negative, authoritarian, oppressive, threatening, backward. It didn't match the China I lived in every day, the one with fast trains, mobile payments, new skyscrapers, hardworking people trying to build better lives. So I started wondering, why does Chinese media rarely show that negative side to us when talking about the West? And why does Western media so often show a negative side of China? Over time, I came to a few personal observations, not conclusions, just feelings and patterns I've noticed. First reason I feel is historical memory. China went through what we call the century of humiliation, from the Opium Wars to 1949, invasion, unequal treaties, territorial loss, forced indemnities, being called the sick man of Asia, that left a deep scar. Even after 1949, the Cold War, sanctions, containment, and decades of being portrayed in Western media as a threat or a curiosity continue that sense of being looked down upon. So part of me understands why the official tone towards the West is cautious and positive. Don't give more ammunition to those who already criticize or fear us. First show strength, achievement, and friendliness. Then perhaps later there will be space to talk more openly about problems. Second feeling, the West still holds most of the global narrative power. English language media, Hollywood, global social platforms, they shape how the world sees everything, including China. If Chinese media constantly highlighted Western problems, inequality, gun violence, racism, political polarization, homelessness in big cities, it might feel like punching up or sour grapes to many people, especially when China is still catching up in per capita terms. Instead, the choice seems to be Focus on what we can learn from the West, what we admire, what we can cooperate on. It keeps the door open rather than slamming it shut. Third observation, something more personal. I think there's also a cultural element. In Chinese tradition, there's a long-standing idea of being humble, learning from others, not boasting too much. Take the strength of others to make up for our weaknesses has been the mindset since the late Qing reformers. Even today, many Chinese people feel that openly criticizing others while we still have many problems ourselves would be hypocritical. So when the media shows the West positively, it partly reflects the cultural instinct. Acknowledge what is good elsewhere, even if it's not perfect. But here comes the contradiction that I feel most strongly. While the official narrative is positive, many ordinary Chinese people, especially younger ones in big cities, still carry that quiet admiration for aspects of Western life. Higher salaries in some professions, more relaxed work-life balance in some countries, better natural environment in many places, a sense of individual freedom that feels different from the collective pressure here. I've seen friends, classmates, colleagues quietly prepare for immigration, study abroad, or apply jobs overseas, not because they hate China, but because they want another option, another possibility. And I don't think that's a betrayal. National narrative is about collective direction and pride. Personal life choices are about individual happiness and freedom. Both can exist at the same time. So here's the quiet contradiction I feel. The official story says the West has things we can learn from, but our path is unique and successful. Yet many people still look westward and think maybe life could be easier, freer, and more comfortable there. Neither side is completely wrong. They're just different levels. Macro story versus micro life. Now take a slow breath again. Feel your chest rise and fall. You don't have to agree with everything I've said tonight. You don't have to pick a side. Just sit with the question for a moment. Why do we show the world one face, and yet inside ourselves feel so many different things? Thank you for staying with me until the end. If this reflection gave you something, a small moment of clarity, a new angle, or simply a quiet pause, please consider subscribing so we can keep exploring these kind of questions together. And if you would like, leave just one word in the comments. Narrative, choice, or simply a heart. It means more than you think. Take care, rest well, and remember, every story, personal or national, is incomplete until we listen to more voices. See you in the next reflection.